Hello, everyone. Welcome back. It's been a while. Today, we're going to discuss a timeline. Uh, I've always been interested in the timeline of the Bible, and there's many timelines out there. We're going to we're going to discuss it as it relates to Israel, because people lose focus of that, so their timelines are a little off. Um, there's plenty of people who are using the timeline to say that this will be the time that he comes back, and they're a little off the mark, but they're trying. But we're gonna bring a little more light to it, spotlight a few things, and reveal some things to you that you might not have known before. The One of the main reasons why a lot of these timelines are off is they don't discuss things laid out by Enoch from in the book of Enoch. And we're going to bring that in. We're going to bring in Genesis, the 7 day prophecy, and stuff from Revelation and Daniel. And you're going to realize there's a picture that is going to be created of like what God's timeline is mainly about is people that he works through that are like signposts within the days, and then these people like Moses and Abraham, you will learn that they are also called heads. Now, a head is a king, and there's many kings that have been throughout time, but these specific kings relate directly to Israel. So I'm gonna bring Adam on. Adam, come on.
Hello.
Hi, Adam. Again, we're gonna get into this timeline now. You know, when Emmanuel was around, the calendars restarted, and we're dealing. If you want to look at it like there's two different times, well, we're not dealing now. We're dealing it from day one to now. Like it's like a fluid, continuous timeline that didn't really get start over when Manuel was alive or died, whatever they technically restarted it at zero. We started going up, and then from there it goes back. So we're starting at day one, and my question is, you know, uh, Peter says, and there's other people that in the Bible that talk about this. A day is 1,000 years. Um, one day with the Lord is as 1,000 years of like our time. So we have this reference, and we could go to Genesis and we see that there's 7 days laid out. Uh, well, in Enoch, chapter 92, or in mine, some it's 93. Enoch talks about something similar, but he has his is a 10-week prophecy. So, but most people have never ever read this. So I want you to get into like, okay, so we have day one, we have a a certain prophecy that's put forth by Enoch, and we have the 7 day prophecy that's in Genesis 1. Now, there's a couple others that we'll get into in Revelation and Daniel, but I want to start with these two. We're going to go through them and uh, help match them up, and then we'll get into some of the stuff in Revelation and Daniel. And like Enoch addresses it. This is concerning the children of righteousness. So we're already the timeline is centered not on the works of Gentiles, but on the works of Israel. So I want you to discuss how this timeline is related to the works of Israel.
So for the viewers, as everyone should know, we don't start with Emmanuel. That's where everyone gets wrong. They say Emmanuel's the beginning. No, Emmanuel's the seventh head of Revelation because it says one of his heads receives a fatal wound. Now this is, and then the wound is healed, but this is really prophesied with Adam. So it says with Adam, who was the first temple, the first tabernacle, the first flesh, blood, and bones, that even Emmanuel, which everyone refers to as Jesus, Emmanuel has the blood of Mary, has the flesh, blood, and bones of Mary. And Mary has the flesh, blood, and bones of who? Adam. So we're not looking at another reenactment of Adam. We're looking at a son of Adam that comes out of Mary, showing that this is the Father, aka his merciful spirit, the righteous spirit. But nonetheless, that this is the Father, and what did he say? I've been in the world knew me not. So that means he's been in flesh multiple times. This is not the first appearance. This is where everyone gets wrong. The first appearance of the Father in flesh was with Adam. There's 8 heads. Adam is the first head. Adam is the first that is manifested in flesh. It says that the Father himself puts the breath of life in Adam, and Adam becomes a living what?
So
Vessel,
that's
temple,
temple.
a living person. What else does he say? I dwell in my temple, which Emmanuel clearly points out the temple is the body. Um, and then it says your head shall receive a bruise. Okay, that verse. Can we find that one real quick in Genesis? The bruise
Yeah,
is
it's
was
three.
it? It's
I will put enmity. Oh, this is 3:15. I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel.
so right here we have a group of people here because there's an enmity between two types of people. Well, let's fast forward. How is this? What is this enmity detailed between thy seed and thou seed? Well, let's go look at the story that Emmanuel foretold. This rich man, right? Rich man and the poor man. The rich man died. Where did he go? He went into the wrathful part of the Father, which is pain and suffering. Everyone knows the wrathful side of the Father is known as hell. And the merciful side of the Father is known as heaven. So where was Abraham? He was in the heavenly bosom of the Father. Where was the rich man? I think it was Lazarus, if I'm correct. He was in the torment, the hellish part of the Father. And what did this guy say to Abraham? Give me some water. Well, Abraham couldn't give that water because there was a fixed gulf between the two. They could not cross over.
Yeah, that was the poor man. The poor man was in Abraham's bosom.
Yeah, the poor man,
You
but
said
the rich
Abraham.
man,
Yeah, yeah,
the rich man was in the hellish part.
yeah.
So that's the point is they could not cross over though. And then what did the rich man say? Should I go back to my brothers and warn them? And then what did Emmanuel say? If they didn't listen to Moses and the prophets, they won't listen to you. So he's asking Emmanuel if he could go back as a ghost and warn them. And what did Emmanuel say? It won't matter what you do. Because if they haven't listened to the words that I put in my prophet's mouth, then whatever you're trying to say is going to fall on deaf ears.
Yeah.
Because where my truth comes from, it's not in the volume of a book, it's in the volume of his people. So we understand here the timeline is not so much of a timeline of events or anything, it's the timeline of the Father working a type of work from beginning to end. Well, what work is everlasting? That's the work of mercy, salvation. What work has a beginning and end though? Sin.
Yeah.
So when he so it's referred to the Alpha and the Omega, who was the first one to sin? Emmanuel or Adam? Adam.
Adam.
Because Emmanuel says you have forgotten the cornerstone. Well, he's not referring to himself. Remember, this is the Holy Spirit. So the Holy Spirit is saying through this fleshly appearance that he's been from the beginning and he forgot him, which is Adam. Adam's the cornerstone. We explained this in our other videos. So Adam is in day one. Enoch is the seventh son from Adam. He is in the same time period, day one.
Yep.
Now, let's go look at Jude. Jude says that Enoch prophesies of these things. What does that mean? Jude is in New Testament. Jude is actually quoting some of the words of Enoch. That means Jude has some kind of scroll or information that people, the children of Israel, knew of.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly, why is the church dismissing the book of Enoch? This is a red flag, folks, for all you Christians and Catholics and Jehovah's Witness and all you other groups. If you don't understand this, get the hell away from that pastor, because that pastor is leading you astray by denouncing a prophet.
Yeah.
Enoch was a prophet. So Jude is verifying this. Why don't we have this information? So what does Jude say now? Let's hear it, Craig. Jude, Enoch, what does Enoch say?
All right. We're going to go to, again, I said chapter 92 of mine, but some it's 93. It's called the 10-week prophecy. And Enoch said concerning the children of righteousness, concerning the elect of the world.
Now, real quick, before we go further with this with people, let's jump to Jubilees. The Jubilees, what was it?
All right.
19.
Yeah.
So we have to understand, folks, who are the righteous? There's a name tied to these people. So let's hear what Abraham has to say. This is in Jubilees 19.
Um, uh, Abraham loved Jacob, but Isaac loved Esau. And Abraham saw the deeds of Esau, and he knew that in Jacob should his name and seed be called. And he called Rebekah and gave commandment regarding Jacob, for he knew that she too loved Jacob much more than Esau. And he said unto her, my daughter, watch over my son Jacob, for he shall be in my stead on the earth. And
Now
for
what? He shall be in my stead. That means heir. What did Abraham ask for a long time ago, before Isaac was even born? Who shall I give my heir to? Now the
Mhm.
father said, no, your heir shall be of your own blood. It's not Isaac, but it was through Isaac that the heir of Abraham comes from.
And for a blessing in the midst of the children of men, and for the glory of the whole seed of Shem. For I know that the Lord will choose him to be a people for possession unto himself above all peoples that are upon the face of the earth. And behold, Isaac, my son, loves Esau more than Jacob, but I see that thou truly lovest Jacob. And still further to thy kindness to him, and let thine eyes be upon him in love, for he shall be a blessing unto us on the earth from henceforth unto all generations of the earth. Let thy hands be strong, and let thy heart rejoice in thy son Jacob, for I have loved him far beyond all my sons.
Even Isaac,
Sorry.
yeah, even Isaac, he loved him far more beyond all his sons.
He shall be blessed forever, and his seed shall fill the whole earth. If a man can number the sand of the earth, his seed also shall be numbered. And all the blessings wherewith the Lord hath blessed me and my seed shall belong to Jacob and his seed always. And
Now,
his
let's jump to Genesis 35:10. Or which one? Yeah, 30. Which one was it? 32:28. 32:28 Genesis. That has a better detail. It's repeated in 35 and 10, folks. Jacob's name gets changed to a certain name. And this name becomes a holy name.
and 32:28, and he said, thy name shall be no more called Jacob. This is the Father speaking through a temple of
This is the righteous spirit
righteous.
that the Father came as looking as a son of Adam, wrestled with Jacob, and Jacob prevailed against the Holy Spirit. Go ahead.
Thy name shall be called no more Jacob, but Israel, for a prince, well, you know that to be a king. Uh, thou hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed.
Right there. So, what name is the prevailing and holy name? That name is Israel. By
Mhm.
no other name is the righteous known. So, we have to make that clear.
Yeah, that guy, I mean, it repeats again, yes, in 35, that no longer shall your name be called Jacob, but Israel. And that goes back to the rich man and the poor man, where he says, that you should listen to my prophets and Moses. What he's trying to lay out to you is, I've told you, about myself and about my seed, and they won't. Well, it falls on deaf ears. So obviously, I think ears are starting to want to hear this truth. It's right here. I mean, we're not really mining something that's hard for anybody to see.
So, let's go back real quick with Enoch.
Yeah. Okay, Enoch. I
So,
have
no
the.
more are we going to say righteous? Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I'm using this one, but I also like the R.H. Charles one, which I own but can't find.
Now, we're not going to say righteous anymore. We're going to replace that word with children of Israel. So, repeat from the beginning of the Enoch.
And Enoch said concerning the children of Israel, concerning the elect of the world, same same thing. And concerning the plant of, again,
Is-
this is righteousness. You want Israel there, the plant of Israel.
Yes, because it's referring to the plant, which means either the comforter or all the children of Israel. Because this is a prophecy that Enoch is foretelling about all of the children of Israel that's to come after him.
Concerning these things will I speak, and these things will I explain to you, my children. I, who am Enoch, in, in consequence of that which has been shown to me from my heavenly vision and from the voice of the holy angels,
Holy
meaning
Spirit.
Holy Spirits, have I acquired knowledge, and from the tablet of heaven have I acquired understanding. Enoch then began to speak from a book and said, I have been born the seventh in the first week, while judgment and righteousness
Not
wait
week, day.
day.
So, folks, like Rick said at the beginning, one day is as 1,000 years. So we're talking about the first day, which also keep in mind, this is the first day in Genesis where there was void, the earth was void and without any light. Now remember, it was void. That means it was full of darkness, right? Now, what did Emmanuel say? He is the king of the light. He is the light. That means his children are the light. We already know that because it says the children of Israel are supposed to be like a candlestick. They're not supposed to be hidden, but supposed to be right out in the open forever to light up the room for all to see. So we know that when it's talking about the earth was void, that means there was no temples. There was no vessels of the Father in flesh. So this shows that when Adam was made, the earth was no longer void, but now had a light.
Mm-hmm.
And then Enoch, the seventh son from Adam, comes from that first light.
Yes. But after me in the second week,
Second day.
okay, sorry, great wickedness shall arise, and fraud shall spring forth. In that week, the end of the first shall take place, in which mankind shall be safe. And,
Now we're talking about certain children of Israel shall be saved.
yeah.
So therefore was Noah not a child of Adam? Why are we saying man then? So Noah was a child of Adam, but was also a child of Israel. Because we fast forward now from Jubilees 19, we take that information, we now can look back and know that there's two seeds, Cain and Abel. Abel was killed, but Cain kept having children. Now he has Seth. Seth took Abel's place, and he had children of Seth. So right here, you have Adam, at the very top of my fingers. Then you have a split that starts to happen. Cain on my, was this the left? Is
Yeah.
that right? So Cain's on the left side. Seth is on the right side. We see this pattern before. The sheep on the right goes to the left.
Yeah.
So we have an understanding now that Israel is on the right, Gentiles are on the left.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the enmity right there. We see that because Esau hates Israel. The Egyptians hate Israel. The Babylonians, all the Gentiles hate Israel except for those Gentiles that are baptized to become Israel.
Yeah.
So we understand that
On
now.
down the line, the to Rome and all the way down till now.
So we see now what's being said. Now is that is this in the second day, right? So we know in the second day in Genesis we have the flood. We have a great judgment, the waters from above and the waters from below.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a boat, which the first, you know, the children of Israel are spared from this great judgment. Remember, as the days of Noah, so will be the end times.
And again, water's the spirit, uh, separating the dark and the light, which are
But let's continue with Enoch.
okay. But when the first is completed, iniquity shall grow up, and he shall execute the decree upon sinners. Afterwards, in the third week, during its completion, a man of the plant of righteous Israel shall judgment shall be selected, and after him the plant of righteousness shall come forever.
So we right there, we just read Jubilees. So we know that that plant of Israel is Abraham. What did you folks just hear about Jubilees? Abraham is saying all these blessings about his grandson, Israel. And you just read on the third day, this is when this happens. So we're 3,000 years into this, in this point that you're hearing with Abraham's time. Go ahead.
And yeah, that's the third day is when he, brings forth the seed in Genesis. Because that's when he's promised an heir, so that lines up. Subsequently, in the fourth week, during its completion, the visions of the holy and righteous Israel shall be seen. The order of generation after generation shall take place, and an habitation shall be made for them. Then in the fifth week, okay, you
Yeah,
want to
hold on.
discuss the fourth,
So what happened in the fourth week in habitation? What was
day?
that you said?
Fourth day. The order of generation. Now we talked about this before, you and I. Order is law.
Mhm.
We're dealing with Moses here.
Repeat what you said. Order generation to what?
After generations shall take place, and a habitation shall be
Right
made.
there. In order of generation after generation after generation shall take place. So an everlasting generation. So who started that? Moses. Because when he took them out of Egypt, what was it constantly being said? It was a reminder, I took you out of Egypt. I did this, I did this, I did this, oh children of Israel. Remember me, not these idols, not these kings of these Gentiles, not their evil, you know, illusionary spirit that they've now made us believe of a Satan devil thing. No, he says, oh, remember my wrath. Remember what I did unto all of Egypt. Remember what I can do to you for 500 or 400 some years. I
Mhm.
did this to you, O children of Israel, and I alone brought you out of this. So that is when the start of Moses teaching the laws, the commandments, because the children of Israel, this is the first step. Because remember, in the boat with Noah, the children of Israel did not really die out. Now, some of the children of Seth, which are also the children of Israel, came down the mountain and mated with the children of Cain, says daughters of men. Horrible scripture writing. So they mated with the daughters of Cain and they became glorified. Um, and then they loved their children. They taught the children of Cain all their wisdom, and it just spread into more. So the seed of Seth, the righteous seed, never died. The seed of Israel. It went into the boat. Then after the flood, it came out. Then from Noah, it went to Shem. From Shem, Shem taught Abraham. From Abraham, we know the continuation, Isaac, and then Israel. And then when they went into Egypt, after the 12 sons died in Egypt, pollution came because they started to forget the teachings of their forefathers and started to uh, listen to their enemies, the Egyptians, the Gentiles. So they were in captivity now, lost of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding for close to 500 years. This
Mhm.
is the is this not, folks, the for prophecy that was given to Abraham says your seed shall go into a land that's not theirs, be at captivity for about 500 years, and then be brought out, and then go into captivity again for the children of the sins of the Amorites. It's not yet full. Well, remember New Testament till the fullness of the Gentiles come in. What fullness? Till the sinful works that the Gentiles do is completed. Now, this is explained further in Enoch. But right now, we're in the fourth week, known as the fourth day. Go ahead.
And then I don't know if you want me to touch real quick, but yes, in the fourth day in Genesis, um, he's like, uh, let the lights in the firmament be for signs and seasons and for days and for years. So he's setting forth like almost
Feast.
like a law, like this is
Yeah.
how things will work.
But also is the feast. So all
Oh yeah.
the what? Passover feast, the trumpet feast, the unleavened bread feast. All these are known as the holidays. So Moses taught this for times and for seasons as a calendar to know, okay, once this feast is manifested, this is how far along you are until the next event, holiday happens. So we know this because Passover was a holiday that the children of Israel were supposed to, you know, practice so that when it became fulfilled, they would recognize, oh, it's Emmanuel acting
Mhm.
as the high priest because he is the high priest. Oh, he's the lamb. Remember the high priest rode on a donkey holding the lamb without spot or blemish. Oh, wow, that's Emmanuel. They would sacrifice the lamb. They would have the goat and the lamb. Say, who did we sacrifice? People shouted, kill the lamb, kill the lamb, kill Emmanuel, kill Emmanuel. Hello? And then the lamb was cooked for 3 days. Emmanuel was hidden for 3 days. And then when the lamb was done being cooked, then everyone ate the lamb. What is Emmanuel? The word. So basically, what we're saying is everyone's going to eat from the righteous spirit again, but this time known as the comforter, which is the eighth head in Revelation. So it's very important we understand the feast of Israel, that these are physical events. Most have already been passed, they're done. We only have really the trumpet feast that's coming. I
Mhm.
think maybe the tabernacle, but
Yeah.
that's about it. All the other holidays, the feasts are done. So, um, what's the next thing?
Then in the fifth day, during its completion, the house of glory and of dominion shall be erected
Wait a
forever.
minute, the house of glory and dominion? Did Emmanuel ever say house of glory and dominion? No, no. What did he say? Think not that I come, but only for the house of what? Glory and dominion? No, no, no. He said the house of Israel. Let's get this right, folks. The house
Mhm.
of what?
Israel
Uh,
shall be erected forever.
does he say in Psalms? He will not forsake Israel. He will remember Israel. Israel is his salvation in Psalms. Come on, folks. Let's understand the timeline here.
Well, and then we're discussing really quick the head over that day would be Solomon.
Correct. So let's go over the heads real quick. There's 8 heads. Adam, Enoch, Noah, that's 3. Abraham, Moses, that's 5 heads. Now remember, 2 heads are in one day. So that's 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4 day. Now we're talking about the 5th day. Solomon.
Solomon.
Because remember, 2 heads, 2 kings are in one day. So now we're getting into Solomon, which is the 6th head, but is the 1 day, 2, 3, 4. It's the 5th day in the prophecy of Enoch. Now, why is that? Because we'll explain what happens to the 7th day. But go ahead.
Um, and that in the sixth day, all those who are in it shall be darkened.
Now, hold on. So let's understand again the timeline. David wants to build a place for the Ark of the Covenant because he's done trying to get it back from his enemies. He's tired. He wants a place where, you know, they could call a home instead of roaming around throughout the land of Eden, aka known as the Promised Land. So he tries to build it. The father says, no, all you can do is the foundation. Your son Solomon, he will be the one to build my house. Does he not build a house? Yes, because he's the only one that's great wisdom throughout the known world in this time period. Many countries, many people go to him for his great wisdom. So he, at this point, Israel is erected. Everyone in the known world knows of the house of Israel. Now, when Solomon fell, meaning when he became blinded to truth, because not because of the many wives he had, is because the wives that he had were Canaanite women. So what did he end up doing? He ended up submitting out of the lustfulness and making idols for his wives out of a polluted love. And
Mhm.
then the father smacked him for that because instead of getting his women straight, his wife straight on the narrow road, he gave in to the wide road. So the father said, hey, I'm the one that can give you wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. I'm also the one that can take it. I'm the one that gave life. I can take it. We all know this is a fact. It's not like he gives life and Satan takes it. No. So if he's the one that's the giver of life and taker of life, then he's the worker of all things. So Solomon is the one that builds his house. He gets the house of Israel corrected. But close to his end, the house of Israel starts to fall into darkness. Why? When we read about Jeremiah, we see that the three kings from Solomon pollute the entire house of Israel. Because after the third king of Israel from Solomon, Babylon comes down as a judgment from the Father and takes the house of Israel into captivity for a short time and destroys the house of Israel, the temple. Remember what Emmanuel said. Think not that this temple is made of stone, but that is the body. Because what the Pharisees, they're like, oh no, this temple was destroyed before, but it wasn't rebuilt in 3 days. It took a longer time. Who are you to rebuild in 3 days? Again, he was talking about the people, the body. So that means the whole house of Israel that was once multiplied and erected and known throughout the whole world became blinded and eventually became destroyed and taken into captivity. And everyone started to forget about Israel because they were hidden in a darkness, which known as Turkey, now aka known as Babylon, the king of Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, go ahead.
And then Genesis 5th day, it says, "Be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters of the sea." And again, through Solomon, spread the word through all the nations. They would come and pay tribute just to hear him speak and hear the word of the Father. So the word was definitely multiplied, and Israel as a nation was too. All right. So I am on the and
Sixth
then
day.
and then the 6th day, all those who are in it shall be darkened, and the hearts of them shall be forgetful of wisdom, and in it shall a man ascend.
Oh, wait, so son of Adam is said, son of Adam. So now we're talking about their it backs up what I said earlier, that Emmanuel is the blood, flesh, and blood, flesh, and bone of descendant of Adam. So a son of Adam, not son of man. This is horrible writing in scripture. Son of Adam. So he shall ascend. Therefore, we're talking about Emmanuel. Go ahead.
And during its completion, he shall burn the house of dominion with fire, and all the
House of what?
uh, it says dominion, which is Israel.
Correct. So this is a key point, folks. Enoch is now talking about something horrible happening to the house of Israel. Why is this important? Because Moses explained this in Leviticus 26. If you don't follow my ways, commandments, and judgments, I will scatter you. I will hand you over to your enemies. Didn't he say this through Moses? Now you read this in Enoch. Enoch is before Moses. Go ahead.
And all the race of the elect Israel root shall be dispersed.
Well, right there, scatter. So right here, this is everyone glorifies the crucifixion. Oh, this is a great time when everyone's okay and it's all good time. Yeah, let's party and celebrate. Oh yeah, there's nothing we need to do anymore. Oh yeah, he did it. No, he destroyed the canon, folks. There is no wisdom anymore. Remember what it says in Psalms, there was no one that is righteous. There's no one that is Israel, not even one. So when Israel is scattered after crucifixion, the light is hidden. what did Emmanuel reproduce? Jonah was hidden for 3 days and then reappeared because there was people that saw him on the boat. Then he said, throw me over because this is the Father's wrath because I'm not following his commandment. So they threw him over. They saw the whale swallow him up. People took Emmanuel. They crucified Emmanuel because they were afraid that the wrath of Rome was going to come down onto them. So everyone sees Emmanuel's dead. These people on the boat of what was that city? The
Nineveh.
Nineveh. So the people of Nineveh that were in the boat saw him get swallowed up by the whale. Oh my goodness, he's dead. He was what? He was a child of Israel. Oh my goodness, we know that who can defeat these people? Let's go back to our place before the Father kills us too. So they go
Yeah.
back to Nineveh. They start talking about this. Jonah comes back from the whale. He goes into Nineveh and he's ready this time. He's not afraid to be persecuted. He was terrified of being killed by these people. Now he's ready. He's all pumped up. I'm going to judge these people. Then he finds out that these people repented. Then he gets upset. It's like, what the hell, man? So Emmanuel gets crucified. People see this guy dead. Then he's hidden for 3 days. Well, again, was hidden for 3 days. Is it really about his body? Remember, who is this? This is the Holy Spirit. Remember, this is again, Adam, Enoch, Noah, Abraham, Moses, Solomon, Emmanuel from the seventh head. One of the heads of, not the beast, folks, one of the heads of the father of Israel, one of his vessels, is a fatal bruise. And the bruise is healed. Well, not Adam, not Enoch, not Noah, not Abraham, not Moses, not Solomon, but Emmanuel did. Then, if Emmanuel is the king of Israel and he is the light, and the light is hidden for 3 days, and Jonah was hidden for 3 days, and one day, Peter says, as 1,000 years, folks. So you're reading this in Enoch. He says, on the sixth day, the house of Israel was scattered, and there is no more wisdom. Now, Emmanuel goes further into explaining that who's the one to give wisdom next? The Comforter. Read John, folks. Comforter, I think it's chapter 14 and he's what, 16? So the Comforter, folks, is the eighth head, is the next vessel of the Father that comes to gather his people that recognize the truth now. So you have 3 days of darkness. 3 days, and this is what Enoch, does he say darkness? In those words right there.
Yes.
That he says darkness, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and oh my goodness, where was it? Well, it says that it shall be burned with fire, or it shall burn with fire.
What about the fifth one? What's that one?
Well, I haven't read that yet, so maybe that's why we're
Okay.
So afterwards, in the seventh week, a perverse generation shall rise, abundant shall be its deeds, and its deeds perverse. During its completion, the righteous shall be selected
Now,
from.
hold on.
Oh yeah, the sixth week, all those who are in it shall be darkened. The
Right
hearts.
there. There's your 3 days of darkness. Shall be darkened. Is 3 days of darkness here. So if you have the light, and the light is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of all of his works, and it says it shall be darkened. That means you will not be able to understand the truth. Why is it darkened? Let's reread what Craig just said. What happens in the seventh? Remember, if there is no light to stop the darkness from enlarging, hell shall enlarge itself. If there's no light to stop the darkness from enlarging, then how does it enlarge? because of perversion. Well, we know, look at LBGT, folks. You just had the shooting that happened not too long ago with a member of LGBT because the person couldn't prevail against their sins, and it decided to do a sinful act and shoot and kill people that were at least trying to understand the truth. Where this person who went into the covenant school did not care. Now, some people could be listening to this views. Oh, listen, folks. History is fact. If this Bible has history and it's a timeline that you're being introduced to right now and understanding, didn't the Father even do this to his own people on Mount Sinai who didn't listen? He cut them down. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the Father has no respect, whether it be of his people Israel or of Gentiles, of the light or of the darkness. He will judge everyone equally. Okay, he does not do favoritism. However, those that are willing to listen to him, he calls them by name, Israel. That's the difference. And they have his protection, not Jews, not Christian, not Catholic, not Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, or any other religious group, but by the name Israel. So we have to understand the facts. What does it say? The Gentiles hate Israel. Remember, Psalms 83 verse 4, they have said, come, let's cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel is no more remembered. That is a hate crime. Did they hate the children of Israel in Egypt to enslave them? Yes, because they feared their number. Did they throw the firstborn sons into the water just like China did, with not making sure that, what was it, daughters, baby girls would die because there was too many females? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just as that happened, now what's the correlation between Israel and China? It's because this is the Father doing things. The Father allowed this to happen as judgment unto his own people, Israel, because they listened more to the Gentiles, the Egyptians. The situation in China, what I just said about the babies, because the people there are some in China that are trying to follow the truth, the word. So if you fear your life and you are not willing to fight and stand up for it because you think that if you die in this fleshly form now, you're gone for good. So that means you're clinging. That means you love something more of this world and you don't love the word enough to be willing to lose it and to say, hey, I believe he's my strength. He will do what he needs to do. It's his will, but I know that I'll come back as another vessel of Israel. I don't need to be worried about this. But those that don't know the knowledge, guess what? They're in for eternal judgment. What do I have to lose? I'll come back. Because we know Emmanuel's coming back, the king. He's bringing all his people back. So I know if I die defending the truth, I'll come back.
Yeah.
So we understand this, and we have to remember this. So you just said what about the seventh day again?
Um, Afterwards, in the seventh day, a perverse generation shall rise. Abundant shall be its deeds, and its deeds perverse. During its completion.
Now, so how did these people rise? How so large yourself? How did the Gentiles rise? What did Emmanuel foresay? Many false, not Christ, many false priests and prophets of Israel. Remember, how does Christ help you understand the sheep? The sheep are always known as Israel. That does not change to another term of called Christ. No, the sheep are always known as Israel. The wolves are to Gentiles, wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yes.
So that means false priests that claim to know righteousness, claim to know the truth, come onto the scene and start preaching. What are they foretelling? Oh, rapture, which is a lie. Oh, this bad old individual anti-guy, which is really the comforter, but they don't want to know the truth. So they call the comforter an evil person because they love what? Their power that they're getting from the from their congregation. They love being boasted and they take pride in this because of all the people that are coming to this person. And you know, how many people are believing on this individual? Oh, I'm doing good. Look how many people. Remember, Lord, Lord, have I not done this? Have I not done that? What did you say? I never knew you. Why? Because of that holy name they did not know and they actually hated in their heart, which was Israel.
Yeah.
So we see, and look, what's the perverse in our time? LBGT, selling about, hey, need money, job, 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 buy this makeup, get this thing that makes you live longer, whatever that may be at the time. All these things that people are trying to keep of their sinful pleasures instead of keeping the truth. These are the perversions. LGBT, gay, lesbian, and trans, all they happen to do is they happen to incorporate all of this stuff in themselves and they push it out to the world and basically are saying in their message, it's okay to sin. Enjoy sin. It's okay to go against the Father of Israel. Enjoy it. The Father of Israel will judge you. He loves you doing sin. This is a message they're teaching to your schools. This is a message they're teaching to around the world. And I'm not saying that's the only sin. I'm saying that's just one of them. You got people that don't even know sex is marriage. They go around acting like prostitutes, males, and prostitutes of females, just giving their bodies over to lust and not recognizing what a union is.
Yeah.
So you have all of these horrible sins that has not been since the time of Adam before. None of no child of Israel has ever seen these levels of sinful works before the crucifixion. None of them has ever witnessed these horrible acts. This is the worst time of 3,000 years that we are in. And it's getting so bad that now, as a child of Israel, you can't judge someone. You're so scared now, people, that you fear being persecuted by your own government, that you won't stand up for the truth. Then I tell you now, if you're watching this, when will you stand up?
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Well, I also want to point out too that, like, you know, the seventh day he rested, Sabbath day, and everybody likes to put it that comes after the second coming, like, oh, that's when the 1,000 years of peace are. Well, peace isn't quite the right term, but yes, when the light leaves the world, the light isn't working, the light isn't doing, and the darkness is doing all the works. And so this 3 days of darkness is the same as times and half of times. It is this thousands of years that have passed. uh Now the first fruits rested with the Father.
So what my brother is saying, Craig, is remember, folks, in Revelation, he shall pour out his wrath upon all flesh. So what is his wrath? What's the job? To blind people, to make them deaf to the truth, to make them as the dead. So therefore he's cut them off. That's what it says in Daniel. He's cut them off until the temple is rebuilt. Now, we're not talking about the temple that's in Jerusalem that's being done. Remember, what is the temple? Is the physical body. So that means we're talking about the comforter. When the comforter is alive and born, which he already is, so when he is able to do his work, people will recognize him because the comforter has a sword in his mouth. That means he has knowledge, wisdom, and understanding in his mouth. Only his people will recognize what he's saying. So we need to understand that means that the right Holy Spirit is in this person. And all those who listen to him eat of that same spirit and become one with the Father. And the Father's in them, and he is in the Father's in them, and they are in the Father then. And that's what Emmanuel was trying to say. Now, remember, the Comforter has been explained the past, the present, and what is to come. So the biggest question you're looking for is not someone that can prophesy what is to come, but someone that can remember what is forgotten and explain it, the things that are hidden. That's what you're looking for. Um, Now, again, if there's a perversion, that means there are false not Christ, false anti-Israels. Anti-Israels. Weren't the Egyptians anti-Israel to the children of Israel? Weren't the children of Esau anti-Israel?
Yeah.
Was it Rome anti-Israel? So we're not looking for anti-Christ. We're looking for people that are anti against this name. Now, the Gentiles are going to say to the children of Israel, the children of Israel are anti-Christ. Yes, because the children of Israel recognize the name Israel. The Gentiles recognize either the name Christ or they don't recognize it at all. Now, why am I saying that Christ and Israel are different? Because they are. Moses never used the word Christ. This didn't happen until the Romans started to go on to their understanding and started saying, oh, this is their Savior. This is their God.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, if he's known as the King of Israel, and the Pharisees say, if you're the King of Israel, come down from that burden, come down from that cross, come down from that captivity that you're in, to show us so that we can believe you are the King of Israel. Now, why did he come down from that cross? To show everyone, both the whole world, the Pharisees and the Romans? Because if he came down and showed them in that time that he truly was the Father in flesh and he was the King of Israel, then what is he breaking his own commandment? No sign is given but the sign of Jonah. So therefore, if he came down from that cross to show to the whole world who he was, people would just say, yes, here is the God.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have twisted and polluted it even further than what it is today. Because they would have just bowed down and say, oh, you must be him, and we will, you know, worship and do all this stuff. But Emmanuel, if he came down from the cross, he wouldn't be destroying their sins. What would happen is they would still keep that sin in their heart. And all they would be doing is just glorifying the Father, but still sinning. So this is why the Father hid himself, allowed the Gentiles to complete all their sinful acts. So when he came back in one fell swoop, he would judge the entire world. And there would be no more would anyone be able to hide sin in their heart ever again. Because all the sinful things that could be imagined have already been done.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
So, I mean, obviously, I'm gonna just go maybe not the whole way, but afterwards there shall be another week. This is kind of where you talk about a hidden week, the eighth day. The eighth day is
Now,
hidden.
go back before, after the perverse, what happens?
Oh, during its completion, the righteous shall be selected from the everlasting plant of righteousness.
So that's the comforter. That's prophesied in the New Testament from John.
And to them
So,
shall be given the sevenfold doctrine of his whole creation.
well, right there, doesn't that match up with John, where it says the comforter who has the wisdom greater than Solomon is here?
Hmm.
So right there, it says the comforter shall bring back all things to remembrance. He'll bring back all the works to remembrance. He shall guide you into all truth. So right here, sevenfold doctrine, seven full of all the works that have happened from the past, the comforter will explain. This, folks, happens in the end of the seventh day, which we are without doubt already at.
Yeah.
Then what happens in the eighth?
Um, Afterwards, it shall be another day, the eighth of righteousness or Israel, to which shall be given a sword to execute judgment and justice upon all the oppressors.
Now we're talking about the great and final war between Gog and Magog. Now this is talking about the great war between the children of Israel and the Gentiles. How is this explained in the Bible? Well, easily. Didn't Paul say, do you not know you're to judge the world? How much more the little things? So we see that when the Comforter comes and he starts to gather his people, remember, do not do any damages to the trees or to the grass or anything until I mark my people.
Yeah.
So these people are marked, meaning that only all the people that he has selected from the womb will be the ones to recognize the words of the Comforter. Sorry, Jehovah's Witness, it's not talking about a certain actual number, because remember, it says the sands of the sea, if you can number it, so shall be the number of the children of Israel. You can't number the sands of the sea, so it'll be without number. That means more than 144,000.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be without. So when the Comforter comes, the people that are marked to recognize the truth will know him. My sheep know my words, my voice. They will be baptized in the Spirit, which is the word. Ah, so now we have the final day, 8th. So that concludes the entire timeline. So leave a comment after watching this video if you want us to go into further areas of the timeline in more detail. But this is 8,000, one day doesn't have to be exactly 1,000. It could be, 2,000 years one day is. But the point is, it's it's more than what our time is. One day to the Father is more than what our time is.
Well, yeah, we're also dealing with time it's time itself and it's winding down, but we also dealing with works and the heads. And in Revelation it says from the seventh comes an eighth. So, the 7,000 years, days comes an eighth head. And then we were telling you, got Adam, Enoch, Abraham, Moses, Solomon, Emmanuel. And from the seventh comes an eighth. And then you have Paul mention the last Adam. The eighth head of Revelation is the comforter,
Based on that.
son of Adam. So it's not heads of a beast, and it's not the heads of, let's say, kingdoms like that are like people you say Babylon and Syria, and it's not that. Even this is what it's talking about. It's talking about the heads being kings of
Of the
Israel.
vessels that the Father worked through that made such a turning point in an event that shaped the entire world.
So the seventh receives a fatal wound, and he comes back. And that didn't Emmanuel say that destroy this vessel in 3 days, I will raise it again. He was talking about the body, and he was also telling you, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. I must go so the Comforter could come. I mean, he knew that his days were numbered, and he would be sacrificed. He knew he was the Lamb, and he would be offered. So what he's saying to you is, I'm the Father, but I will come back
For my
as
people.
for my people. And this eighth head is of the seven. Well, seven is the heads that I just mentioned. Just like Moses was was the father working, the father was working through him, and Abraham, and all these heads, spirit working with flesh. Um, so uh, I
That's
could
it.
I could read something. I don't know. I'm getting like I think we've touched on this a little bit about the heads. Um, but yeah, it's not talking about a country or a devil or Satan or any of that. I mean, it's pretty obvious once you get into it. You're like, oh, um, well, I could read some of it, but it says, and it was given to him to make war with the saints, Israel, and to overcome them, and are given to him all kindreds and tongues and nations, and all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain
Mm.
from the foundation. Um,
All the world that are not written in the book of Israel shall be the ones to worship. Correct?
yeah,
Whoa. So that's the perverse, the evil generation, the wicked generation.
and if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword shall be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of, it says, saints Israel. And I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed.
That'll be the seventh head.
Yeah.
So we're talking about false pastors and prophets are forcing everyone to worship Emmanuel. They don't say Emmanuel, they say Jesus. So they twist his name and they
Yeah.
force everyone to worship um, Emmanuel, but they're not telling you that this is the Holy Spirit. This is the Father. They're not saying that. They're teaching you that, oh, Emmanuel and the Father are separate. Emmanuel is the Son of the Father. Give me a break, folks.
Yeah.
How perverse can you get? All right.
He had two horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. again,
What was
horse
the
heads. So yes, this seventh and eighth are one, as
Mhm.
all heads are one. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him and causes the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast whose deadly wound was healed. I read that already. And he goeth and he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah. Well, you want just say it, Adam. I'm tired, man.
Well, I think we said enough for the video. Like I said, if they want to leave comments, we could go into further detail.
Okay, okay. Sorry, everybody. It is late. I am a little tired, and was I talk to Adam all the time, but this conversation it'll be continued, and it'll be continued more or less like if you guide us and what you want to hear something else, like you leave us a comment, it'll help us go into the next
Mhm.
thing that maybe we didn't touch on
Yep.
that you'd like to know about. Thank you. Good night, everybody. Talk to you later.